All right, greetings, everybody. Damn. Greetings, everybody. Peace and power, elevation be to all you. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in the fade. Live in the fade. Excuse the coffee. But tonight, I want to get into the subject about African American community in Michigan. Okay, it's not too far away from Detroit. It's called Idlewild, Michigan. And no, this is not based off the movie Idlewild. So Idlewild is something totally different. That was an Outcast thing. Okay. So, but shout out to Andre 3000 and them. All right. So, anyways, I got some read materials about Idlewild, Michigan. So again, it was an African American community, a middle class community. And this is where black people were striving and they were, having their own business or whatnot. So what I'm going to do a lot more often is talk about black communities, actual African American communities. The last time I was on here, I spoke about Orange Mound in Memphis, Tennessee, which that was a black community. And it's still around to this day, okay? But today I want to get to Idlewild, Michigan. Thank you guys for those of you that have been following my channel, that's been supporting my channel, subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate that a lot. That really means a lot to me. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming year, 2022, and hopefully bigger things and better things will come on this platform. Again, I'm looking forward to that. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on here. I sound kind of sick, man. I just got over sinus. Now I feel like I'm coming back with the sinuses. I don't know if it's Omicron, whatever that shit called, the Delta. I don't know what the fuck it is. God damn it, shit. This shit's crazy. I'm starting to think they creating this virus now. Shit, I'm starting to believe that shit. Cause they coming back to back like crazy, man. But anyways, let me go ahead and get started. All right, so I want to go over some reading materials. All right. So that's why I want to share with you guys. I want to share with you guys the reading materials that I have here. Okay. Okay. So right here, this is WikiOne. As usual, you can go on WikiOne. You can find a lot of information. If people can find a bunch of pseudoism, a bunch of stuff that has been outdated and debunked and all of that, you can find information that is very valuable too. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Shall we? So as you can see, this is the plaque, the historical site. It says Idlewild, beginning in 1915, African Americans from throughout the country, particularly the Midwest, came to Idlewild in the summer. During the early years, the resort offered beaches, boating, and other typical summer diversion, right? By the 1920s and into the 1960s, however, Idlewild's rising nightlife lured swarms of visitors to the community to see elaborated floor shows and some of America's most popular black entertainers. All right. So I'm going to get into all that, but I just want to show you guys this. Okay. All right. So it is an unincorporated community in Yates Township. Located just east of Baldwin in southeast Lake County, a rural part of northwestern Lower Michigan. During the first half of the 20th century, it was one of the few resorts in the country where African Americans were allowed to vacation and purchase property before discrimination was outlawed in 1964 through the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The surrounding areas was in Manatee's National Forest. The community encompasses Lake Idlewild and the headwaters of the Purell Marquette River extends throughout the region. Oh, all right. So it was called Black Eden of Michigan. From 1912 to the mid-1960s, Idlewild was an active year-round community and was visited by well-known entertainers and professionals from throughout the country. And its peak, it was one of the most popular resorts in the Midwest, and as many as 25,000 would come to Idlewild in the height of the summer season to enjoy camping, swimming, boating, fishing, hunting, horseback riding, roller skating, and nighttime entertainment. When the 1964 Civil Rights Act opened up other resorts in many states to African American, Idlewild's boomtown period subsidized. Though not quite a ghost town as claimed in the book Ghost Towns of Michigan, Chapter 7, the population was under 1,000 in 2019 and numerous buildings were vacant. The Idlewild African American Chamber of Commerce, founded in 2000 by John O. Meeks, continues to promote existing local businesses and seeking new ones. It is also striving to attract more visitors to the area with other strategies in hopes of resuscitating the once lively town. Okay, so again, it was founded in 1912. During this period, a small yet clearly distinguishable African American middle class, largely composed of professionals and small business owners, had been established in many urban centers, including several in the American Midwest. Despite having the financial means for leisure travel, racial segregation prevented from seeing an opportunity for white land developers and their wives organized the Idlewild Resort Company. Erastus and Flora Branch okay, and Wilbur M. and Maine Lemon and World War I era to secure land rights. Erastus Branch built a cabin, homesteaded the land for 3 years, and eventually obtained the title to the land through his Branch, Anderson, and Terrell Real Estate Company, which became the central focus of the resort community. So, Idlewild, Michigan was a resort at one point. All right. So it was founded in 1912, and it was occupied by these group of white people that came together and they formed the Idlewild Resort Company. Okay. Going on to say, all right, one folk saying suggests that the community's name referred to the idle men and wild women. Current residents embrace this version of the story by selling playful T-shirt with the phrase at the annual Idlewild summer festivals. Okay. IRC organized excursion to attract middle-class African-American professionals from Detroit, Chicago, and other Midwestern cities, taking them on tours of the rustic community and selling lots. Their ads in major news media offer lots at $1 down and $1 per month, and cited the hunting, fishing, boating, and horseback riding opportunities. A 1919 pamphlet used by IRC to promote the community entitled Beautiful Idlewild describes it as the hunter's paradise, renowned for its beautiful lakes of pure spring water and its myriads of great fish, game fish. Damn. Promoters of the areas also emphasize the lack of prejudice and the freedom of movement for blacks without ostracism and hatred in a town where they could truly feel like American citizens. All right. So it also goes on to talk about one prominent personality to relocate to Ottawa as Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who in 1893 was the first surgeon in the United States to perform open heart surgery. Williams, Herman O. and Layla G. Wilson of Chicago, 3 of Williams' associates from Chicago and Cleveland, and 20 others were among the first group of African-American professionals to join IRC excursions. Later tours were conducted by train from Chicago, Indiana, Detroit, Grand Rapids, St. Louis, and other cities. Okay. As you can see, that's Madam C.J. Walker. Okay. All right. So she happened to be one of the people that bought up some property in Idlewild. All right. Okay. So IRC had acquired over 2,700 acres of land. The company sold a good deal of that land and then turned the island in Idlewild Lake over to William and Louis B. Anderson of Chicago and Robert Raff and William Green of Cleveland, who collaboratively formed the Idlewild Improvement Association and helped build the clubhouse. All right. So the IIA property to such notables as NAACP co-founder W.E.B. Du Bois, cosmetic entrepreneur Madam C.J. Walker, Fisk University President Lumel L. Foster, Albert B. Cleage Sr. of Detroit, Fannie Emanuel of Chicago, and novelist Charles W. Chestnut. Three IIA was also responsible for recruiting other middle-class professionals such as the NAACP Field Secretary William Pickens. Excuse me. Yeah, so William Pickens, H. Franklin, and Virginia Bray, a missionary, and his wife, who together founded the first formal church in Idlewild. And the Reverend Robert L. Bradby Sr. of Second Baptist Church of Detroit, who contributed to the development of Idlewild Lot Owners Association. IIA encouraged this new influx of community leaders to foster racial pride, economic development, decency, and respect to Idlewild. So black folks was really buying up the land over there. So remember, it was a resort, and then the resort was sold to middle-class black people, such as those who were in entrepreneur field, those who were in the medical field, and those who were pastors, etc. They were buying up land, buying up property, putting their own businesses there and everything. All right. So let's go on. All right. So it talks about the height of popularity. Okay. So it goes on to say, after segregation and enforcement segregation of Jim Crow laws made it nearly impossible for African Americans to strive in American society, many searched for a safe haven. Idlewild became a place where one could be within miles of prominent cities such as Chicago while remaining concealed within the surrounding woods of the newfound African American community. As this new black intelligentsia began to settle in the community, some relocated activists and members of Marcus Garvey Universal Negro Improvement Association, some as followers of Du Bois National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, others as believers of the late Booker T. Washington political machine, and others as potential investors. For the majority of these professionals who brought their families, the idea of land ownership conveyed black social status and membership in this community, something that enforced segregation prevented African Americans from attaining beyond the community of Idlewild. Eventually, Idlewild would become known as the Black Eden of Michigan. Right? So here it is. And check this out. Idlewild gained national stature among African Americans during the period between the world wars. For example, the Idlewild Land Owners Association had members from over 34 states in the country. In addition, the Purple Palace, the Flamingo, and the Paradise Club, Idlewild Club, Rosanna Tavern, and Pearl's Bar provided summer entertainment for tourists and employment opportunity for seasonal and year-round residents in the community. The Pierre Macquarie Railroad built a branch line to area by 1923. A post office opened that same year, and the Idlewild Fire Department was established soon after. Following the flow of these significant establishments, a host of new entrepreneurs began entering the community with new establishment on the rise, and the growing population of people. Idlewild began to mirror the appearance of a prominent American society by the mid-1920s. Over 6,000 people had purchased some 17,000 lots in the area. All right. So let me go ahead and skip a couple of these paragraphs, okay, because I want to get through this. All right. It says following the World War II, Idlewild attracted what some sociologists have labeled the new African American working middle class. With the construction of a few paved roads in Idlewild, a reinvestment in the township only post office, and greater availability of electricity, and a new generation of entrepreneurs began to invest in Idlewild. Field guides, Arthur Big Daddy Braggs, William N. Sonny Wilson, and a host of other African American businessmen, women took advantage of the market by purchasing property on Williams Island and Paradise Gardens and began developing these areas into elaborate night spot and business center. According to one reliable sources, Bragg financed his Idlewild business with revenues from illegal activities. Okay. Then it goes on to say in 1952, the Detroit Idlewilders Club was founded by Sonny Wilson and others prominent Detroiters who spent their summer in Idlewild. The founding purpose of the group was to aid and support of charitable and civic endeavors and promote social entertainment and recreation in Idlewild. The cottage started by Albert Cleage in the 1940s was expanded by his sons Louis, Huff, and Henry. Okay, so Albert Cleage is the founder of the Shrine of the Black Madonna. So if anybody know about the Shrine of the Black Madonna Church, it started in Detroit, Michigan. Then they had a second location in Texas, and then the third location was in Atlanta, and they got another location in South Carolina, I believe. They got another location, I think, in Liberia, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so Albert Cleage was the founder of the Shrine of Black Madonna. Okay. One day I'm gonna have to do a video about that if I didn't do it. So I'm gonna do a video about the Shrine of the Black Madonna. Ooh. All right. All right then. Let's see. Okay, so going down where it says the Paradise Club showgirls and chorus girls with guest entertainers perform not only in Idlewild but also on the road in all season as Arthur Bragg's Idlewild revenue. The appeared in cities such as Montreal, Toronto, Boston, Kansas City, Chicago, and to New York and Manhattan. The group performed at the Apollo Theater. Bragg's show helped Idlewild become a major entertainment center and contribute to the financial prosperity of the area. Some of the amenities in Idlewild or Idlewild, I think they meant Idlewild here, but anyways, were advertised in the Negro Motorist Green Book. So if anybody know about the Negro Motorist Green Book, basically is there's certain areas where Negroes can go, right? That's black friendly or black owned. So there was a list of places that black people can go, and there was a list of places they could not go. Okay, so that was the Green Book. All right. Okay, so it says decline in redevelopment efforts 1964 to present. Okay, so when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 came into existence, right, the business in Idlewild declined. All the vacation resorts will begin to accommodate African American visitors, with federal law requiring that they be accepted anywhere. African Americans began taking advantage of this opportunity. Many went to Florida beaches and Las Vegas casino, for example, limiting the number arriving at Idlewild. According to the National Public Radio, it was integration that killed Idlewild. Blacks no longer had to remain invisible. Let me read that part again for the people in the back. It was integration that killed Idlewild. Blacks no longer had to remain invisible. So when we talk about what integration have done for us, there is so pros and cons to integration. The pro was that it did give a lot more opportunity for blacks to go to areas without having so much restriction placed on them. They had a lot more leverage. They had a lot more chance to work in job fields, etc. That's the pro. But the con is that it killed us economically. It messed us up economically because at the end of the day, it gave more power and leverage to those who are privileged, which is the white people. They receive a lot more privilege. Okay, they receive a lot more privilege, and it increased their profits. So there was no money left in our community. So when black people found out, oh, they can go to places, they disperse out their own environment and start going to these other places because they want to be inclusive. They want to feel like they're a part of something, but they're not thinking about how it would affect us economically. So integration has its pros and cons. Okay, integration has not done a whole lot for us, and I'm just being blunt about it. I'm just being very blunt. It has not done a whole lot for us as black people in America. It has really messed our economics up. Okay. Um. So it says in 1966, Idlewild lost its last nearby train access in Baldwin when the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway terminated service on its Grand Rapids Traverse City route, with a time transfer in Grand Rapids to Chicago bound trains. Dang. Okay. And said the national recession in the early 1970s further contributed to economic downturn in Idlewild, which led to a population decline as local employment options dwindled. Idlewild became a lesser-known family vacation and retirement community, primarily attracting retirees who remember it from its boom period. In the 1970s, township officials organized a planning commission, zoning board, and other initiatives as a way to encourage community input and to offer specific practical solutions to improve the community. Community development block giants were obtained for demolition, additional road work, and other structural changes, which resulted in a complete makeover of the island, renamed Williams Island, in honor of the early community leader, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. In the 1990s, with federal and state funding scarce, attention was turned away from building projects toward the renovation of existing township properties. The federal government designated Lake County as an enterprising community, which facilitates the development of sewer and natural gas systems. Businessman John O. John O. Meeks. I'm thinking about Meek Mill, the rapper. My bad. Let me try that again. Businessman John O. Meeks purchased and renovated the Moulton Motel and founded organizations to develop and promote the community, including Mid-Michigan Idlewilders and the Idlewild African American Chamber of Commerce. Nonetheless, by 1998, the economy was in the missile state, according to a reliable source, with many residents on welfare. By that time, the Paradise Club had been torn down and the Flamingo had been closed down. So just like any other black businesses, right? Any other black community, it goes in a state of decline because money was taken out of those community, right? Businesses was leaving and going elsewhere. So they want to integrate, but the integration process, again, it did not benefit black people in totality. It gave us some opportunity, it gave us some leeway, but it did not benefit us totality. Why? Because it hindered the economics progress. And when it hinders the economic progress, then it affects the people as a whole. So again, there's the pros and cons to this. So that's why I'm kind of like not for integration, but integration is needed, but I'm not really for it because I know the economic effects behind it. And it's already going to benefit the privileged people more than it's going to benefit those who are underprivileged. So that's why I stand on my position. It's like a catch-22 type of thing. Well, All right. So some images. As you can see, that is Daniel Hale house. All right. This was the house that he lived in at once upon a time. Okay. That's Herman and Layla Wilson house. That's a beautiful home. Okay. Idlewild Lots Owner Association. That's the building. Flamingo Club. The Idlewild Cultural Center. Wilson Grocery. Okay. All right. So that's a picture of Michigan, Lake Michigan, all of that. All right. That's the United States. Okay. Okay. So that is all for that. I got some books that you guys may want to check out if you guys want to, if you want to know more about the Idlewild community. All right, so here's the book I found. It's called Black Eden, the Idlewild Community by Lewis Walker and Ben C. Wilson. Okay. All right, so you guys can look up that book, check that book out. That's the read materials that you guys should have on your bucket list. So if you are, especially if you're in Michigan and Detroit area, whatnot, you guys should check this out. So let's see what else. Okay, what else I can pull up here? Garveyism in Idlewild. Garveyism in Idlewild. But I guess people don't believe that, Garvey was doing the work or whatnot. But check this out. Hold on. Check this out. Garveyism in Idlewild. Pan-Africanism was taking place. Okay. Okay, let me see. Going down here, it says the organization, development, and impacts of Garveyism in the Americas. So the end of World War One contributed to many social, political, and economic changes in the United States internationally. As American soldiers began returning home from Europe, the political ferment in the United States called for a return to normalcy, that is maintenance of the status quo. To end in the last days of World War One, the Wilson administration began informing African American soldiers that the U.S. government was in no way prepared to address racial inequalities in the country. Their participation in the war should not be interpreted as an opportunity to gain any concession in America's racial policies. Now, that was fucked up. That's how they did the black people back then. That was really fucked up. But again, that was the attitude of America. And many African Americans leaders, such as W.E.B. Du Bois, protested strenuously against the blatant unfairness and hypocrisy of having African American soldiers fight to preserve democracy on a foreign shore while denying it to them within the borders of the United States. All right. The irony was also not lost on the traditional white supremacist elements in American society. Their agenda was the maintenance of status quo through more direct means, violent suppression of African American political demands. With the East St. Louis, Illinois riot, the Chicago Red Summer of 1919, and the 1921 Tulsa, Oklahoma race riot, the stage was set for a series of racial confrontation and mob violence unlike any before or since. Mentioning these blatant acts of racial discrimination and oppression is important because of the physical, spiritual, and psychological resistance displayed by the African American community, as well as the unbridgeable fissures it created between Black leaders in the United States and the Caribbean. Hence, during the era of the new Negro movement, okay, and Garveyism, the African American community not only saw the flowering of Black cultural self-awareness in the arts, but also crystallization of Black socio-political thought that found expression in Garvey's call for and desire to uplift the race. All right. Let's see. Let's go down here. It says, during the years following the First World War, the riots of 1919 and 1921, the Great Depression, Garvey's ideas, dreams, and vision, part of a long and rich Black nationalist tradition of previous Black leaders called for racial pride, self-reliance, and Black economic empowerment. Garvey was more successful than his predecessors in encouraging the support of substantial Black middle class and working class following. This characterization of Garvey's effort to effectively mobilize the UNIA has been misunderstood. Some reductionist pseudo-Marxist readings of Marcus Garvey movement claim that it consists mostly of a large petty bourgeoisie following that served to exploit the masses of Black followers. On the other hand, Burkitt rightfully noted that most fascinating aspect of Garvey is how and why he succeeded to the extent that he did, geographically, religiously, and across classes. Okay. And it says this illustrates Garvey's ability to recruit indiscriminately a religiously and geographically diverse membership. One of the strengths of Garvey's discourse was that he used religious symbolism and brilliant words choices. His help us to help ourselves terminology, his up you mighty race lines of appeal, and his Africa for Africans themes all contribute to his successful rhetorical career. Gifted with a prophetic vision, Garvey expressed an abundance of hope among millions of Black peoples worldwide. During the first UNIA International Convention held at Madison Square Garden in 1920, when the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World were established, Garvey was permitted to open negotiation with Charles B. King, then president of Liberia, to encourage immigration, American colonization, and development of the southwest region of the West African country. In 1922, during a recruitment speech and in the midst of numerous attacks from a variety of Black intellectuals who accused Garvey of misleading the masses, he used the themes of economic independence, race pride, and nationhood to create political organization beyond domestic districts where his followers live as citizens. He pushed to establish independent governments that would be controlled by the Black race. Thus, the theme of independent power was central to Garvey's program. He widely encouraged practical steps by which Black communities could outline an economic plan to build factories, run steamships, and finance in industries in Africa, the Caribbean, and the United States. All right. So, anyways, all right. So going down here to where it says Garveyism in Detroit and other Michigan towns. So it says Garvey had a large following in Michigan, particularly in Detroit and Idlewild. In 1916, he first visited Detroit during a speaking tour shortly after arriving in the United States. He returned in June 1919 and then again on at least 6 other occasions prior to being incarcerated in a federal prison in Atlanta in 1925. Okay, Lee reported that Detroit chapter of UNIA-ACL was organized following the historic First International Convention of the Negro Peoples of the World, which convened in Harlem from August the 1st to the 31st of 1920. Among the delegates attending the Reverend A.D. Williams of Detroit, who returned home ready to organize. Detroit Garveyite John Charles Zemty recalled how Williams came back to Detroit with a red, black, and green flag. And he walked the streets of Detroit accompanied by others, playing the tambourine and so on, and began the organization of the Detroit divisions. Okay. So check this out. The Detroit branch chartered as Detroit Division number 125, later number 407, experienced an astonishing growth probably unrivaled at the history of the UNIA, except possibly by New York, Detroit, and in turn gave birth to numerous Michigan branches and divisions. Soon we had a membership over 300 whose ages range from 18 to 75 years old. Zampi noted of the Detroit division beginnings 3 years later in the spring of 1923, testimony given during Garvey's trial for a trump of federal mail fraud charge recorded a dramatic leap in Detroit division membership, then reportedly numbering 4,000. All right. So a year later, on August 5th, 1924, Detroit Division President F.E. Johnson announced at the 4th UNIA convention that the branch was now 7,000 strong and considered a power in the city. Moreover, he had organized and supervised divisions in the suburbs and neighboring vicinity of Detroit. Okay, so Detroit chapter not only prospered numerically but also economically by 1927, 2 years after Garvey was convicted of the mail fraud charge, and while in prison at the Atlanta Penitentiary, his attorneys stated his attorney stated that Detroit Division owned $50,000 worth of assets, mostly property. Significantly, this was after the UNIA began its steep decline in the absence of charismatic leader. According to Zampi, Detroit Garveyites took to their heart their leaders' datum of self-reliance. We bought property in at 1516 Russell Street, he noted, which he used as a branch Liberty Hall or headquarters. The Detroit division had businesses of all types. We had laundries, restaurants, shoe shine parlors, drugstores, and we even had theaters under the auspices of the UNIA. So they was doing it. Okay, they was doing it. They was doing their thing in Detroit. So check this out. Right here, origins of Garveyism in the Idlewild community. All right. So I'm going to just read this last piece. Okay. Although the UNIA movement began to fragment and decline by the 1920s, Idlewild Division 895 was just getting organized. Interestingly, the existing literature on Idlewild, there is no acknowledgement of Garvey's organization and its importance to the history of the community. The scholarship of Wilson, Graham, and Walker and Wilson, for example, appears too preoccupied with discussion concerning the infusion of a black middle-class clientele in Idlewild, neglecting to address the nationalism tendencies of the community's history. Perhaps this oversight is because of the conflation of nationalism with the working class. The literature indicates that Idlewild was developed as a place for African American elite of Chicago and Detroit to rest and vacation, but also a space where the exchange of intellectual ideas could be unfiltered. Thus, as the population began to increase in Yates Township during the New Negro movement, Idlewild served as a conduit where leading African-American spokespersons could keep abreast of changes and troubles within the nation and discuss issues relevant to African-American life, culture, and history. All right. So it goes on to say, three prevailing ideological precepts existed in the Idlewild community in the 1920s and 1930s: accommodation, integration, and nationalism. First, African American found expression in the concept and policy of accommodation given voice by Booker T. Washington and his adherents, who believed that accommodation would allow African Americans to prosper while at the same time not pose any threat to the existing socioeconomic orders. Second, they embraced the political philosophy of W.E.B. Du Bois, William Pickens, and the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People of the 1920s, which pushed for a policy of full integration in every aspect of American life. To that end, the NAACP advocated a policy of challenge through means granted in the U.S. Constitution and the courts. Finally, Garvey's concept of black nationalism or nationhood was popular in the Idlewild community, during which time it served as a scathing rebuke of the two other contemporaneously prevailing ideological precepts of accommodation and integration. Black nationalism was the best manifested by the UNIA through the mass appeal of Garvey, who saw the plight of African Americans as unsalvageable. Garvey was convinced that the two races could not coexist within one nation, and consequently argued that accommodation and integration would continue to fall short in terms of what was best for African American community. Garvey reasoned that the policies of white America would never permit true democratic principles, and thus advocated a nationalist policy that reinforced African American agenda without regard to white American concerns. Oh my God. Concomitant with that idea, Garveyism was widely accepted among African Americans residing in Idlewild, who were struggling to uplift the race and to resist the ravages of white racism. Okay, so that's it. And this article came out in 2004 under the Journal of Black Studies by Ronald J. Stevens, Garveyism in Idlewild, 1927 to 1936. Okay, therefore, yes, Garveyism was heavily influenced in Detroit. And not only that, it took over in Idlewild. So, but you had different philosophy. You had the NAA, you had those who supported the NAACP. You had those who supported Booker T. Washington, and Booker T. Washington was somebody that inspired Garvey. That's who Garvey looked up to, and along with many others. So he was one of the first, pretty much say do for self, etc. So when Garvey seen that this man opened up his own school, which was Tuskegee University in Alabama, that inspired Garvey to say, okay, you know what, let me rise up as a black man and let's get our people to unite on one common cause so we can be able to focus and be able to do the things that is necessary for our people, not just here in the Americas, but worldwide. So, but then we got folks going around saying that Pan-Africanism is pseudo. Okay. All right. But I guess you're not studying the history thoroughly. Peace, brother Sanel. Peace, 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 brother. Peace. Peace to you. Peace to you, brother. Thank you for coming through. Shout out to brother Sanel. Shout out to you, brother. All right. Also, let me look at one last thing here. Now, let's look at Boogie Chillin, Uncover Detroit African American Cultural History. Right? I'm about to go ahead and pull that up. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay, if you can see that, cool. So this one is called Boogie Chillin. Thank you, Saneb. I appreciate it. I do what I can. I can only play my part here. That's all I can do, brother. Thank you. He said, keep cooking. Thank you. Okay, Boogie Chillin, Uncovering Detroit's African American Cultural History, right? By Suzanne E. Smith. And this came out under Michigan Historical Review, spring of 2001, right? Published by Central Michigan University. Okay. So it says Boogie Chillin, Uncovering Detroit's African American Cultural History. So I'm not going to go into all of this, but I'm going to probably just like look at the first three paragraphs. Anyway, it says in 1948, John Lee Hooker recorded his first and arguably greatest song, Boogie Chillin'. The single pressed on Detroit's modern label stands as a watershed in blues history. The recording was a phenomenal success in the urban blues market, selling approximately 1 million copies. As a point of comparison, Muddy Waters had a hit only 1 year earlier with his song, I Can't Be Satisfied, which sold approximately 70,000 and 80,000 copies. Hooker's million seller proved that the appeal of the urban blues could reach far further than anyone previously had imagined. The amazing popularity of the song begs for an explanation, as blues scholars and music writers have noted. Boogie Chillin' is perhaps most striking in its simplicity. In his classic work, Blues, Deep Blues, Robert Palmer writes that the song was essentially backcountry, pre-blues sort of music, a droning, open-ending stuff without a fifth verse form that lent itself to building up a cumulative trance-like effect. In his recent biography of Hooker, Boogeyman, Charles Murray describes the song as a one-man show with zero chord change changes, repetitive lyrics, and little melody. Yet most analysts of the song also agree that Boogie Chillin's stark musical styles, which combines Delta blues tradition with a distinctive urban edginess, is essential to understand the song's wide appeal. Musically and lyrically, the recording captured the attention and excitement many African Americans experienced during the Great Migration when their Southern cultural tradition confronted and merged with the industrial world of the urban North. Okay, so for historians, particularly historians of Detroit's of African American cultural life, Boogie Chillin is not only a legendary blues recording, but also a rich and invocative primary source. In the song, John Lee Hooker sings in the persona of a young man who desired to boogie woogie, defies his parents' wishes. The young man who recently migrated from the South describes walking down Hastings Streets, the heart of Black Detroit's Paradise Valley District, and hearing everybody talking about Henry Swing Club. The song captures a moment in Detroit's African American community that will soon be lost. In 1946, Detroit Mayor Edward Jeffries Jr. unveiled the Detroit Plan, which would be one of the first urban renewal projects in the country. And by 1947, the city began implementing the plan, which involved condemning and demolishing properties in Black neighborhoods, such as Paradise Valley and Black Bottom. All right. So by 1960, Hastings Street, the central artery of Black economic life at mid-century, would completely disappeared, replaced by Interstate 75, the Chrysler Freeway. The exuberance Hooker expresses about the boogie woogie spirit of Hastings Street and Boogie Chillin offers historian a brief glimpse of a moment in Detroit's Black cultural life for which no physical evidence reclaims. So basically, this article goes in to talk about the blues and how it was mixed in with the Midwestern sound, the sound of the North. Because you have to remember when this was during the time of the Great Migration period. So when people migrate up north, they also took their creativity with them. And one of those creativity was blues. So, this was happened to be a blues song about a young man that wanted to go out and party and hang out with his friends, and he migrated from the South and went up north just so he can live a better life and go and have fun. All right. Just give me a second. Okay. So this is talking about Detroit, and specifically, it doesn't really talk about Idlewild, Michigan. But I'm just going to kind of combine the two together. Okay. Let's see what else. All right, so let's go down here, and then I'm going to end the video. To begin with one of the best secondary sources, Richard W. Thomas' Life for Us is What We Make It, Building Black Community in Detroit from 1915 to 1945, offers a thorough overview of life in Detroit's African-American community during the first half of the 20th century. Thomas focuses his study on what he calls the community building process, which he defines as the sum total of historical efforts of Black individual, institution, and organization to survive and progress as a people and to create and sustain a genuine and creative communal presence. The time frame of the book from the eve of World War I to the end of World War II allowed Thomas to explore how Blacks in Detroit created community for themselves during 3 decades of tremendous growth. During the first wave of Great Migration, Detroit's African-American population increased from 5,741 in 1910 to 120,066 in 1930. Such a remarkable shift created a situation in which Detroit's Black community needed to develop an infrastructure through which it could aid and accurate new Southern migrants into Detroit's industrial world. Most impressively, Thomas chose not to focus simply on how Blacks in the industrial working class adapted or how members of the Black business and professional classes often emerged as community leaders. Instead, Thomas presented a dynamic and complex Black community in which working class Black interacted with and challenged the objectives of the city's Black professional businesses, business classes. All right. So go further down just a little bit. One of the best examples of Thomas' multidimensional approach is his treatment of Detroit's urban league. Under the early leadership of Forrester B. Washington and John C. Dancy, the Detroit Urban League was one of the most influential organizations in the city's Black community during the first half of the 20th century. Independent of religious and governmental institutions, the Urban League played a powerful role in assisting new Black migrants with their transition to life in an industrial city. Most significant were the Urban League's efforts to help Southern migrants secure employment and housing when they first arrived in Detroit. In this role, the leaders of the organization revealed both their best intention and their obvious class prejudice against the unclouded ways of poor rural Blacks. In 1918, Forrester B. Washington, the League's director from 1916 to 1918, published a pamphlet instructing new arrivals on how to abandon their country folk ways and appearance. Oh, wow. The bourgeois Amish migrants do not indulge in loud conversation or use vulgar language or obscene language in public areas. Wear street clothes instead of work clothes in public, but avoid flashy clothes. Do not be late for work and do not sit in front of your house with your shoes off. Do not wear overalls on Sunday or spend all your money on pleasure. Do not braid children's hair in a certain way. Keep the children in school. Do not throw refuse in the front or backyards. Such a detailed list of warnings reveals how anxious Detroit Black professional elite was about accurating Southern Blacks to urban mores. Individuals such as Washington believed that race relations in the city depended on the cultivating the most civilized image of the Black community. Thomas' analysis shows, however, how this type of socialization was infused with conditions or condescensions that often accentuated class division within the city's Black community. All right, so the last part I was reading, and again, you guys can check this out. So this is really just focused on Detroit, not Idlewild. So again, it's called Boogie Chillin'. Okay, and check the source out. You can look it up, Michigan Historical Review, and it was written in 2001. So the Northern people, right, they had gave instruction to the Southern folks. So these Black elite told the Southern folks, look, y'all gonna have to get rid of some of y'all ways, man. Y'all can't bring that mess up here. All right. If y'all gonna do this and you want to be in this area, then there's certain things that you got to oblige by. You can't just do what you want to do. You can't dress this way. You ain't gonna talk this way. So they was on that bougie mentality, the house Negro mentality, kind of. Because they couldn't sell Southern people doing things that is very Southern. You know what I mean? So yeah, with that being said, that article just pretty much deals with the sound, the music, and the cultural lifestyle of how the Blacks from the South, when they migrated up north, and how they were living in the community amongst those in the north already, and how the cultural differences took place, and also the cultural infusion as well. So with that being said, that's all I have for this information on Idlewild, Michigan. I don't want to hold anybody up, but I thank you guys for watching. Shout out to Brother Sanel. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. And I want to thank you for sharing my videos. I really do. I really appreciate that a lot. Excuse me for all the coughing in between. Man, I don't know what's going on. But I want to thank you, Brother Sanel, for making sure you share the videos, sharing my channel, doing all of that great stuff. I really appreciate that. Your support, it really means a lot to me. So shout out to Each One Teach One, okay? Each One Teach One, which they was known as New Black Knowledge. They always come with great information. They always come with great scholarship. So if you want to learn more about African American culture, history, you need to check out their channel because they can really go into details better than I can. So whatever information that I don't cover here, they can cover on their channel. So check out Each One Teach One. They strictly, what they mostly focus on African American history. They also focus on African American history. I mean, Africans in the diaspora as well, and also particularly West Africa. But for the most part, it's African American culture. So shout out to Brother Snell, Brother True Storian, Brother Ryborn, and many others on the channel that's really doing their thing. They really doing their thing. They really putting in a lot of hard work in this. It's a great way to find out more information. If you really want to learn, just go check out their channel. Go check out their channel for real. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't tell you wrong. I wouldn't tell you wrong. I wouldn't tell you nothing different. It's worth it. Okay. And also I want to say shout out to the Mighty Warrior clans. Shout out to some of the people from Pseudo Killers. Shout out to some of the members from Team Osiris, my old team. Who else I want to give a shout out to? CK the Poet, shout out to her. She doing her thing. And also check out this other channel. These two channels is Home History Channel. You need to really check out Home History Channel. They do a fantastic job dealing with West African history, just African history in general. Check them out. And also check out From Nothing, which is another channel that's like Home History Channel. They do a fantastic job on those channels, man. You need to go check them out. Shout out to Brother Ngozi. Yeah. So with that being said, you guys, shout out to everybody that's really doing the work, that's really teaching the people, educating people, getting communities together, etc. So until next time, you guys take it easy on yourself. Please be safe. Be careful with all these damn viruses going on, the Delta, the Omicron, or whatever you call that shit, the damn COVID. I mean, all these motherfuckers coming around. So y'all, please be careful and please be safe as much as possible, okay? These motherfuckers ain't no damn joke. They fucking serious, man. They some serious ass virus. They shit creep up on your ass. So I don't know what's going on here with me and all this coughing and shit. I wish it could stop. But anywho, you guys have a good evening, and until next time, peace and power and elevation. This your girl Tip, and I'm out.